Sharon, I'm just going to note that the issue of emergencies has come up in both of those interventions, that as a sticking point that really needs to be tackled if we're going to move forward, and also the unity and coalition building of civil society is an important strength. Sharon Primor, go ahead.
Thank you, Tina. I'd like to address 3 points that we're pushing government and psychiatric milieu to address and change. The first is that Israeli law and government policy is very paternalistic in regard to people with disabilities in general. Amongst others, there are very strict coercion powers given to state officials, to institutionalization, medical coercion in general, and psychiatric forced treatment. We have made an important leap in minimizing guardianship in Israel and putting instead supported decision-making. But there is an important difference, because guardianship is given to another person, to a third party, where coercion powers are given to state officials. And in this respect, we're still very deep in the paternalistic area. Once a determination has been made that psychiatric forced treatment should be given, there is no attention given to the person's wills, preferences. This is regarding to the lockup in the closed ward and to the medical treatment. It is so far that the person is not, the will is not even seek. You can agree to treatment and still be put under forced order. Now this is pivotal in understanding what the problem is and to change. And what we're trying to push is that in this regard, the government acknowledges the attitude and change the model to a consent-based model, just as it is in every single thing we do in life and in medical treatment as well. We have to restart, delete everything that there is now, and put in place a different model. The second problem is regarding procedural violations and lack of due process. Israel rates are going up every year over the decade. The numbers of coercion have been going up. 30% of patients are in forced treatment. And there are many problems in the procedure. The decision is an administrative one. It's based on hearsay to a large extent. There is no evidence. There is legal aid to every patient, but the procedure at large is very lacking. Now, it is tempting to change the law, to put in better procedures, to tighten up the clause. But I would say to government, don't go there. This has been tried in the past 30 years in the States and other countries. It has gotten us nowhere. We have to change the thinking, the model, and then thinking of the procedure. And the third thing is that our system is very binary. We either have clinics in the community, which is usually a big waiting line, or you have forced treatment. We have no we have no crisis prevention treatments. We have no house treatments, no requisite, very few requisite facilities. Now, on the one hand, this has to be developed. There's a lot going on. We have to think and put in the model. But on the other hand, this is what I would say to state, don't make this a precondition to abolishing forced treatment. If you do that, it will never happen. Put in the abolition, and then, at the same time, simultaneously develop new models.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. And that's also bringing in issues of, well, many things. Some of the maybe extreme or particularly intense forms of coercion or powers of coercion that may exist in some countries, and that give us the opportunity to actually really push for a complete change in attitudes and policy, rather than just going down the same road that we have in other countries that is just perpetuating coercion, as well as the positive policy that both of you mentioned. Mr. Schefer, Markus Schefer, please.
Thank you. Now when we look at the current situation, we see that forced psychiatric interventions are an entrenched professional practice, basically worldwide, and a practice that is supported by a large part of society also worldwide. This is the one area. On the other side, we have the CRPD committee that comes out with an absolute prohibition. Now, for such a legal position to get a foothold in countries, it is not an easy task to do. It is a political issue and it is a legal issue. And I think what we need to do is find the legal avenues to pursue and the political avenues to pursue in order to broaden the acceptance of today's position of the CRPD committee. Now, when you look at the views countries have vis-à-vis the optional protocol to the Oviedo Convention, that tells you very clearly that there is no majority anywhere in sight for the current legal view of the CRPD committee. That tells you there's a lot of work to do. Now, on a legal level, I think we need to address the problem domestically as well as internationally. Domestically, NGOs need to start to pursue a legal strategy of how to bring cases to the courts in order to convince the courts to adopt the CRPD's view. That requires legal strategy on a sustained basis. On an international level, I think it's up to us in the committee to forge stronger coalitions with other treaty bodies, particularly those treaty bodies that do not support our view. For example, the Committee Against Torture that does not support our view, we need to engage with them. We cannot work, they don't go away if we just ignore them. We need to work with them, and the other treaty bodies as well. And on a political level, you need to work domestically to convince your society to do it. You need to work internationally, and that's why we're here, to convince the international society to do it. Now, I am not so sure if it is the right approach to first abolish interventions and then start with alternative structures and infrastructure. We need to do both at the same time, otherwise the situation gets way worse before it gets better.